And hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln. Welcome to Oklahoma Sportscene, statewide on Cox Cable Channel 3, also in Northwest Arkansas on Fort Smith, and of course worldwide on YouTube. Glad you've joined us this week at the Bricktown Brewery here on South Peoria. I always come in with some great food and some great craft beer and a lot of TV screens here to watch all the great sports as well. Always welcome to Bricktown Brewery across the state of Oklahoma. Take a look now at our headlines for the week. Big Four college football kicks off this weekend. Finally here, the 2023 college football season. Tulsa started its season on Thursday. OSU Arkansas on Saturday. Will feature insiders from all those schools. James Hale for OU, Robert Allen for Oklahoma State, and Rick Schaffer from the University of Arkansas. We had Tulsa on last week. Our high school football reporter, Michael Knight, is here for a recap of Week 0. Some big surprises and a look ahead to the big first week of high school football across the state of Oklahoma. Dr. John Balbas joins us from Tulsa Bone and Joint. He's a hip specialist talking about hip injuries and recoveries. And Remington Park, the race report, has a profile of a top jockey over there. Also, look back at the Traverse Stakes this past week. Now let's look at our hot topics presented by the Tulsa World. The start of the high school football season in Oklahoma, unfortunately marred by 2 gun incidents. One at Choctaw High School, where a young student was shot and killed. 2 others were wounded. They found 2 guns, 15 rounds of ammunition there, and still looking for the shooter. In Tulsa, again, at Booker T. Washington High School, had to be suspended, then canceled finally. They had a young man, unidentified still, brandished a gun and never fired it, but it was enough to cause a panic there in the stadium. They called the game off. Investigations continue on both those incidents. Monday morning, the executive director of the Oklahoma Sports Activities Association, David Jackson, had this statement in a Zoom call in the OSSAA office in Oklahoma City about their responsibility when it comes to safety in school activities.
I would tell you that the measures that the schools have in place and the things they implement are good. It's going to be virtually impossible to stop all these things from happening, regardless of the measures that people put in place. Because again, our schools, I say it over and over again, but I think they do a really good job of protecting our kids. It's just hard to stop all of it.
We'll talk more about these 2 incidents now next week's Oklahoma Sports Scene show. David Jackson joins us from Oklahoma City, and then our own Mick Wilson, athletic director of Tulsa Public Schools, will be here as well to discuss safety issues around high school athletics. Well, the PGA wrapped up its 2023 season, and what a show our Oklahoma State golfer Victor Hovland put on. My gosh, Victor had an incredible round of 63, shot 27 under par to wrap up the Tour Classic. 5-shot victory and a check of $18 million. With that $3.6 million he earned the week before the FedEx Cup event, the BMW, and with a check for just under $380,000 at the first event, the St. Jude's, that means he made $27 million in the last 3 weeks. He's 25 years old, and he said, I have a simple life. I live in Stillwater, Oklahoma, low cost of living, not married, but it's nice to have a few dollars. I bet it is. By the way, the top 10 finishers in the FedEx Cup all earned checks over $1 million. FC Tulsa had a 5-match winless streak after dropping a 3-1 decision at home against Birmingham Legion on the 23rd. They then made their first trip to New Mexico. That streak now has been extended to 6 winless. They lost 2-1 in Albuquerque this past Saturday night. They were down 2-0 at halftime. Then a goal in the 78th minute by Tulsa's Marcus Epps cut the score in half. They couldn't close it out, though. FC Tulsa has only 2 September home matches at One Oak Field. They're coming up this Sunday, the 3rd, hosting San Antonio FC. Then the following Saturday, September the 9th, they'll take on Phoenix Rising at One Oak Field. Tulsa Drillers tried to have a very successful road trip, the longest of the season. They played 12 games on the road, and they won 8 of the 12 in Frisco, Texas, and in Northwest Arkansas. Now they're back home with a series at the Arkansas Travelers. Starts Tuesday the 29th, goes through Sunday the September 2nd. The next to the last home stand for Tulsa in the 2023 Texas League baseball season. And congratulations, Team USA winning its 39th Little League World Championship Series in history as El Segundo, California. Their team, led by their home run slugger, Louis Lappy, he had a walk-off home run in the 6th inning to win a 6-5 game over Curacao in the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Coming up next, we start our 2023 college football preview with James Hale The Oklahoma Sooners, that's next.
There are 3 things you need to know about Bricktown Brewery. We never stop obsessing over the quality of our fresh, made-from-scratch food. From pizza and burgers to salad and seafood, there's something for everyone. Our beer selection is second to none. Between handcrafted Bricktown beers and local craft favorites, you're sure to find one you'll love. We can't wait to serve you. Great food, local beer, and truly friendly service. Bricktown Brewery, we love what we do, and it shows.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
The Remington Park Thoroughbred season has plenty of winning action with many big stakes dates set for you on the calendar. The richest race of the season is on the only Sunday of the season, Oklahoma Derby Day, September 24th. The Grade 3 $400,000 Derby headlines a brilliant card that also features the Grade 3 $200,000 Remington Park Oaks. The Derby Day program begins at 3 p.m. and features the annual wine tasting festival along with a hat and tie style contest. Remington Park's Oklahoma Derby Day, Sunday, September 24th, 3 p.m.
Tulsa Oilers hockey at the BOK Center. The ultimate experience of hockey and entertainment. Save big on season tickets today. Full season tickets starting as low as $17 per month for all 36 home games. Get your season tickets at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. Experience hard-hitting, glove-dropping, pulse-pounding, glass-rattling kind of thrill. Season tickets available now at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey.
Our college football preview started last week with the University of Tulsa. This week we'll go to the other 3, OU, OSU, and Arkansas. The OU insider is one James Hale. James, out of that 6-7 disaster last season for Brent Venables, what's the feeling for OU in 2023?
I think they feel like they've improved in every area. They added speed at wide receiver. They needed a tight end, and they got a familiar name in Austin Stogner. It looks like he's going to be a great player. So I think there is a lot of optimism. They lost 5 games, 4 in the final drive by 3 points or less, and another by a touchdown in the final drive. And that includes, they lost the bowl game the same way, where they played lights out against a Florida State team that had everybody coming back, and OU had a chance to win that game. So I think they are very optimistic about the year. They feel good about it, and they feel like they're going to be a good football team this year.
Well, the Sooners got to a great start though last year too. I guess James, ended up number 6 in the nation, undefeated. Then ended up losing, of course, 7 of the last 10 games of the season. And it looks like Brent Venables took some time to say he had to learn how to be a head coach too. Bob Stoops had to learn how to be a head coach. He told me as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think Brent's admitted that there were some things that happened during the season that he either didn't handle right or caught him off guard, that he feels like he's got to do better. And that goes for Jeff Lebby as the offensive coordinator. Lebby really hasn't called plays all that long. He's worked with some pretty good guys, whether it's Mike Leach or whether it's Bryles or whether it's been Josh Heupel. No matter who it's been, he's been with some guys that have been experienced play callers. And so he hasn't necessarily run his own offense all that much. And so he had to learn too, especially about running clock in the second half. And then Brent's got to be stronger to tell his coaches, I want to do this. It's one thing to let your coaches coach, but you got to coach them sometimes. And I think he realized that last year. He talks about that, how sometimes, he's not only coaching the players, but he's coaching the office personnel, and he's coaching the coaches, and and he talks about that's the demands of being a head coach and how that's the way it is. But last year the wheels came off against TCU. Dylan gets hurt, and they throw whatever that was against Texas. It was an ill-advised scheme, and guys, put in positions. It's almost like they didn't try to do anything offensively, and the defense couldn't hold up. And that they kind of spiraled downward the rest of the year. That's why Dylan's worked so hard in the off season, and why guys have really tried to get it together, because they know that's not how indicative of what kind of team they have.
James Hale, OU Insider, and of course, CBS Sports Radio, 105.3 FM, and guy that knows all the insides and outs of OU football. Talk about this 2023 schedule. A lot of people think it's a very easy schedule, and anything less than 10 wins would be disappointing. Your thoughts on the schedule this year?
Well, I agree. I mean, they should win 10. There's only one game they're going to be an underdog in, and that's against Texas. And we'll find out how good Texas is early in the year, and maybe they won't be such an underdog when the game starts. But OU should be really good. They shouldn't be stubbing their toe. Iowa State and its legal problems, right? The gambling thing at Iowa State and Iowa. I agree with Kurt Ferentz on that when he says, how come we're getting targeted? You don't think this isn't happening in other schools across the country? I would have to believe that other schools are just freaking out right now, asking all their players, what are you doing? But anyway, that's beside the point. Iowa State's lost a number of starters. They're coming at home. The road game at Cincinnati could be interesting, but Cincinnati I don't think is going to be that good. So you roll into Texas, you should be undefeated. And then depending on how you play that game, if you win that game, then things are going great guns. Then you've got to go to Kansas and take on a guy and Jalen Daniels that everybody thinks is a Heisman Trophy candidate. And, you got to go to Oklahoma State for the final Bedlam game. So, that's going to be a cool game and a fired up game. I don't know what Oklahoma State's going to do at quarterback. And sometimes when you have 3 quarterbacks, you don't have one. We know how that goes, so we'll see. Then you got TCU to end the year, and you got to go to BYU at the end of the year too. And that's never an easy road game for anybody. So there are some tough battles on this schedule, and every game's going to be tough. Everybody's going to be looking out for Oklahoma and Texas in the last year of the Big 12. Let's hope the officials, understand there's holding on every play. You don't have to call it, but you should at least call one or twice during a game, right? So that should take place. But it's a manageable schedule. It's a really good schedule, actually, and Oklahoma should have a great record.
Week's off to a good start, James. The announcement that big defensive lineman they so coveted, David Stone, the kid from IMG, coming back home, played his high school football at Del City, but he sounds like just what OU needs heading to the SEC.
Well, it really is. It's a get. They've been recruited David for a long time, since he was in 9th grade. And, when you're after a kid that long, and every time I've talked to David Stone, he wanted to be a Sooner. I'm not surprised he picked OU, even though he says it was an incredibly tough decision for him, as his mother and family wanted him to go to Miami. That means Miami recruited the family as much or more than David. And probably there was some NIL involved that they let the family know about and things. And OU just doesn't do that. I mean, they recruit the family too, but they don't talk about NIL to recruits. They tell them what you can get once you get to OU and how well you can do from an NIL standpoint once you get to OU, but it's a different deal. But losing Williams Nawarnia, who continues to wear OU gloves and cleats in every game he plays, I don't know how Missouri feels about that, and that's kind of weird. Losing David Hicks last year, you were beginning, and some people were beginning to label OU as the bridesmaid. They can't quite get the 5-star defensive line recruit, and you need those blue bloods if you're going to play big time football. And especially, the SEC, every team seems to have a 1 or 2 or 3 really good defensive linemen. They grow them down like trees down there. And I think OU feels like the fact they're going to the SEC is going to help them recruiting defensive linemen. But this is a great start with David. They get his teammate too, Jaden Jackson. So 2 guys from maybe the best high school program in the country. And that's good news for the Sooners moving forward. We'll see what happens with David Smith out of Melissa here on the 8th of September. And we'll see what happens with Nawarnia at the end of the year.
Well, James Phil Steele, we talked to him a few weeks ago. Of course, this great Inside Football magazine. He puts OU on his most improved list, and he projects them to play in the final Big 12 title game for the Sooners.
Well, I think Oklahoma would be a good team to pick at that, because they were better than 6 and 7 last year. They just didn't do it. They didn't have one guy make a play on defense, Chris, to get off the field. They didn't have, the offense didn't pick up one more first down or one more big play to win that game. The times they went 3 and out, why did you couldn't make one completion. One guy couldn't make a catch. One guy couldn't get open. That's the puzzling thing with so many guys, right? You still have a first-round draft choice in the offensive line in Anton Harrison. So why is Dylan Gabriel ever getting sacked, right? It's kind of an interesting dynamic what happened last year. And I think OU is a good team to pick because Brent's just not going to stay status quo. He went in and a number of players left OU, and everybody thought that was a negative. Well, it was really, I hate to use this word, I just can't think of another one. You're the wordsmith. I call it a purge, maybe, that this many guys left, and Brent just kind of told him, I don't think you're going to play here. And if you want to leave, I'm going to help you all I can. I'll give you every great recommendation. Then they went out and got guys that they felt were better than the guys they lost. And if you can improve your football team that way, if you feel like from a coaching standpoint, you're bringing in better guys than you're losing. He hates the fact that he's had to bring in so many new players for the second year in a row. And he hopes this is not the status quo in today's football with the transfer portal and things, but he feels like they're going to be a better team. So if I'm Phil Steele, I probably say the same thing. I'll use a pretty good bet that they're going to be an improved football team and they have a great chance to get into the Big 12 championship game.
James, thanks so much for the visit as always. Look forward to seeing you up here in Tulsa on the 16th. I know you comes in to play the Golden Hurricane, and again, always.
I'm going to sit in your suite. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Always welcome, James. Thank you, buddy. We're going to come right back and talk some Cowboy football. Your old friend Robert Allen's going to join us. It's coming up next.
There are 3 things you need to know about Bricktown Brewery. We never stop obsessing over the quality of our fresh, made-from-scratch food. From pizza and burgers to salad and seafood, there's something for everyone. Our beer selection is second to none. Between handcrafted Bricktown beers and local craft favorites, you're sure to find one you'll love. We can't wait to serve you. Great food, local beer, and truly friendly service. Bricktown Brewery, we love what we do, and it shows.
Tulsa Bone and Joint, Northeast Oklahoma's sports medicine experts. We are pleased to help you and the athletes in your life with a number of surgical and non-surgical options. Tulsa Bone and Joint is proud to serve as team orthopedist for local high schools such as Broken Arrow, Owasso, Sapulpa, Cascia Hall, and Bishop Kelly. We're also proud to be team orthopedist for FC Tulsa. Tulsa Bone and Joint, moving life forward.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
Indoor football is back, Tulsa, and season tickets are going quick. Don't miss Saturday night entertainment starting as low as $9 a month. The Tulsa Oilers indoor football team kicks off again in March, Saturday nights, 7 p.m. BOK Center. Season tickets are on sale now. Go to TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com. Get your season tickets now. Don't miss your chance to experience the fast-paced, helmet-hitting, pad-popping excitement of professional indoor football. TulsaOilersFootball.com.
And we welcome you back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. And come on, buddy. Pistols firing, right?
Yeah, pistols firing.
Buddy. Robert Allen, to me, the longtime voice of Oklahoma State football. On the sideline, maybe, but still a great voice there over 2 decades and got so much going on in Stillwater, but always been the guy, our go-to guy for OSU inside Cowboy football. Robert, thanks for making the trip to Stillwater.
I'm glad to be here, and I'm going to throw this out. I know you've been congratulated by a lot of people. But you're a Hall of Famer, Chris Lincoln. And I tell people all the time, for those in Texas, remember Vern Lundquist.
Oh, great guy.
But then Bob Berry Sr., who's in the Hall of Fame as well. And now Chris Lincoln. And I've had the pleasure and the fortunate thing in my career of being mentored by some Hall of Famers. So that's
my
great.
honor. PokesReport.com, all the insiders.
Right.
It keeps you busy all the time.
Yeah, we have Alan Bowman on an NIL journal,
yeah.
and so he's not allowed to talk to the media, at least for now, but you can see him on Pokes Report, so that's good.
And, of course, your Triple Play Sports Radio. How many hours a day is that?
3 hours every morning, till 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Then you join Dave Hunzucker and our friend John Holcomb for Cowboy Network
There'll
football.
be future Hall of Famers that I got to work
and
with.
you will be too,
I'm around a Hall of Fame lineup. I love it.
So, how many seasons on the sideline for you now?
24 now for Oklahoma
You must have
State.
some great sideline stories, Robert.
I've got I mean, and the year we had Dana Holgerson,
Right.
there's some unforgettable stories there.
Can't tell a lot of those,
course,
probably.
No, you can't
And
tell
you were at
those.
the Ice Bowl?
The Ice Bowl, that was,
man.
but no, Mike Gundy has been so great to work with, and I know that he's kind of an electric figure sometimes with some media, but for those of us,
Yeah.
I mean, he treats us great. I mean, I get to watch practice tape, and opposing team tape. We're hooked up to their system. Mike has made this the easiest thing to do.
And the dean of Big 12 coaches, only two other coaches in the entire country have more tenure, right? Than
Yeah,
Coach
and
Gundy.
one of them, he came in practically at the same time with Kyle Whittingham, and I think at Iowa, Kirk Ferentz predates both of them.
And Mike's what, 18th season, 19th?
This is 19 for him, yeah.
And unbelievable. Well, I told people, Robert, going into this season, I've come to this football, since the 70s. I've never gone to a season where I have less idea of what to expect from OSU, OU, or TU, or Arkansas. I have really no idea because of the portal and NIL stuff and all the transfers, and I just don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from TU, Arkansas, and OU, but if I don't know what to expect from Oklahoma State, every day at practice, Dave and I are there and we see it, and again, unlimited access from Coach Gundy.
Unbelievable.
So I feel pretty good. Now, a lot of people, this is the question I get most often. They're really three quarterbacks.
Yeah. And who's the starting quarterback?
Well, I think it will probably end up being Alan Bowman.
The kid from Texas Tech, right?
The kid from Texas Tech that was at Michigan the last 2 years,
Yep.
transferred in. But to give folks an honest evaluation of what we've seen, coming out of spring football, it was Bowman. I mean, he really, the last couple of weeks of spring was outstanding. In fall camp, he and Garrett Rangel have been neck and neck every day. And Gunnar Gundy had a 5-day stretch starting with the first scrimmage. He was clearly the best quarterback. For 5 days running, he came out there and went on a tear. And so that's why right now I think Mike and the staff, they just feel like they've got to give all these guys an opportunity in the games. But I think when we settle in, if I'm a betting man, and I guess we can't really say that too much these days with the problems with the NCAA and gambling, so I'm really not. But I would say I think Bowman probably ends up being the guy. But the good thing for Oklahoma State, the other two guys are good quarterbacks.
Now, protection. That was a big issue with OSU at the end
That's
of last
probably
season.
the bigger uncertainty.
Offensive line, what do you think?
That is the one thing that going into this that I feel like I need to see. I think they're better. They're healthier. That group was beat up bad last year, especially the last 4 games of the season and the bowl game. They didn't have much tread on their tires. It was worn thin. But everything else I feel pretty good about. The offensive line, I kind of need to see how they come out.
You think Oklahoma State, the first thing I always think about is always have great running backs. Usually almost always lead the conference. And it's been falling off the last couple of years. What's the running back situation?
I think it's going to be good. Jaden Nixon is a sophomore out of Frisco from Lone Star High School. That's the one that is near Jerry's Star facility in Frisco. And Garrett Rangel is from that school as well. He's the home run hitter. Ollie Gordon, who got a lot of time, got 100 yards in the rain against West Virginia last year. He's a workhorse guy. And then Elijah Collins, who transferred in from Michigan State, he was a captain, and he was an all Big Ten rusher or all Big Ten running back his sophomore year. I've been so impressed with him. So it's again kind of like the quarterback. It's a 3-headed monster, but I think they'll settle into a rhythm with Ollie and Elijah getting a lot of the reps, and with Jaden Nixon being in there to hit the home run.
Other side of the ball, defense. OSU always plays some pretty solid defense.
Yeah, Brian Nardo and the head coach.
I was raving about this too.
Yeah, the head coach. After the second scrimmage, he called me up and we were talking, and he said, I may have hit a home run with this hire.
He's from where?
Well, originally from Ohio. He was with Frank Solich as a student coach at Ohio University.
Great program.
Then he was at Emporia State. That's where he was first defensive coordinator. Right. My son got to know him really well because he recruited kids from NEO.
And Zach's on the OSU staff
now, and Zach's
right?
on the OSU staff too. And then he went up to Youngstown State for a year, and then Gannon. The thing is, his first years as the DC at Emporia State and at Gannon, they set defensive records for performance. he's really sharp. He's got a great system, and it's all predicated on letting his guys play as free as possible, run around and make hits. You're going to love seeing Colin Oliver at strong side linebacker.
Oh,
That's
right,
really, he's got a much brighter future in the NFL there than he would as an edge rusher. And then Justin Kirkland, the transfer nose guard. I mean, he's 6'4", 350 pounds, and he played tennis in high school. He's been on his Mormon mission.
Gosh.
So he's a 22-year-old married sophomore, 6'4", 350-pound nose guard that can move.
The 124th season of Oklahoma State Cowboy football kicks off this Saturday, 6 o'clock. The scrimmage against Central Arkansas, but you're always wondering about those
You
things.
know what?
But,
they're not bad.
no,
Hang on. Will McIlvain out of Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah.
Good quarterback. It's a veteran. And they've got a kid that's an NFL prospect, a defensive end, David Walker. There's going to be no. Do I expect this to be competitive?
Yeah.
No, Chris. But are there some guys on that team from Central Arkansas? A couple.
We have parting gifts for you. We have a gift card from Bricktown Brewery, and you're one of only 2 people who get to keep the Oklahoma Sports Scene cup. It's all yours.
I love it.
You can take that home with you.
I love it.
Terry Miller stole the last one. So.
And I tell you what, I see this and the gift card. I mean, I just might pick these up and take them with me. But
Start enjoying it.
No,
Come right
awesome.
back. Arkansas football. Woo Pig Suey with a good friend Rick Schaffer. Straight ahead.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Indoor football is back, Tulsa, and season tickets are going quick. Don't miss Saturday night entertainment starting as low as $9 a month. The Tulsa Oilers indoor football team kicks off again in March, Saturday nights, 7 p.m. BOK Center. Season tickets are on sale now. Go to TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com. Get your season tickets now. Don't miss your chance to experience the fast-paced, helmet-hitting, pad-popping excitement of professional indoor football. TulsaOilersFootball.com.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
The Remington Park Casino is always open for jackpot gaming. The winning action never ends. Enjoy great food and drinks in the Bricktown Brewery, open daily at 11 a.m. Simulcast racing is offered every day, featuring North America's best tracks. Visit the Club Remington desk for player card membership and begin earning points and rewards. The jackpots are always flowing. The next one could be yours at Remington Park.
Tulsa Bone and Joint, Northeast Oklahoma's sports medicine experts. We are pleased to help you and the athletes in your life with a number of surgical and non-surgical options. Tulsa Bone and Joint is proud to serve as team orthopedist for local high schools such as Broken Arrow, Owasso, Sapulpa, Cascia Hall, and Bishop Kelly. We're also proud to be team orthopedist for FC Tulsa. Tulsa Bone and Joint, moving life forward.
Because of the heat, the Arkansas Razorbacks have moved its season opener in Little Rock this Saturday, taking on Western Carolina from a 3 p.m. to a noon kickoff. To get the inside on all Razorback sports, the guy I've always counted on is Rick Schaffer. He's been calling the Hogs for some 48 years.
Frank Rose was here for 50 years. I haven't quite made that yet, and not that I want to break his record because he's the most legendary Razorback ever, but about 3 more years and I'll be able to do that.
Well, let's talk about these 2023 Hogs, and I tell you, you have one of the most entertaining coaches in all of college football. I mean, everybody thinks he's a perfect fit, Sam Pittman, for Arkansas football.
Sam Pittman is a down-home guy that you can just picture yourself going to the movies with or sitting on the back of a pickup truck with, eating watermelon. I mean, he's just a regular guy. And the SEC Network asked him when they were at SEC Media Days, what would be a perfect day for you? And basically he talked about picking up Popeye's chicken, going to his boat, and riding out on the boat all day, coming back and doing it again. So he's a pretty simple guy, but he's also very organized, very fundamentally strong. He's assembled a good staff, and he has a passion for Razorback football. He was at the University of Georgia. They had played for a national championship. They hadn't won it yet. Before that, he was the offensive line coach at Arkansas. He's had great success, but while he was even here as an assistant and even growing up, he thought this would be a great job to have. Assistant line coach or offensive line coaches don't get head coaching jobs. But he did, because so many of his offensive linemen that played for him when he was here spoke out on his behalf. When Hunter Yurachek went to interview him, he saw the passion that Sam had, and the next thing you know, he's the head coach here.
Well, the Hogs kick it off, of course, Saturday against Western Carolina, then Kent State, then BYU. But then it gets to the real SEC football. What a schedule, Rick. I'm looking at this now. All on the road at LSU, A&M, of course, down in Arlington, Texas, at Ole Miss, at Alabama.
Well, your followers in Oklahoma are going to find out very quickly that the SEC doesn't do anybody any favors when it comes to scheduling. And it's a reality check when you come into a league like this. And I know Oklahoma's coming in thinking, hey, we're pretty darn good. Well, everybody in this league is pretty darn good. And Arkansas found that out when we came into the SEC. But yeah, the SEC this year, they could have given Arkansas a little bit of help here, because they're in the last 2 years of a contract with Texas A&M, which actually was made before Arkansas or before Texas A&M came into the SEC. It was a 10-year deal where we play at Arlington every year at AT&T Stadium. Well, there's 2 years left on that. Well, this year it's Arkansas's home game. So they could have given them maybe a game in Fayetteville somewhere in that 4-game stretch, but didn't. 3 road games, and Arkansas's home game is at Arlington. It's the first time Arkansas joined the Southwest Conference in 1914, so they've been a league member since 1914. This is the first time they've ever played their first 4 games in the conference and not played one of them in the state of Arkansas. So it's a brutal schedule, but then you look and say, well, Sam Pittman loves it. He says, hey, that's great. This is what you play for. Now, that's what he's got to say, right? Get his team fired up for the stretch. But just think, if they could somehow win 2, almost unthinkable that they could win 3 of those games, but that they do, the schedule, the back half of the schedule is set up very favorably for the Razorbacks.
7-6 last year, won a bowl game in overtime, and Sam Pittman returns 4 offensive starters, 6 defensive starters. What's your outlook for the 23 Hogs?
Well, you think about last year, 2 years ago, Arkansas won 9 games, and I think that was probably the most unexpected good season in Razorback history. Chad Morris had coached for 2 years, never won a conference game. Sam Pittman came in, and during the COVID year, Arkansas won 3 games, all against SEC teams. They had won a conference game for 2 years, and then the next year won 9 games. It was pretty amazing. So last year, you're thinking, well, they slipped a little bit going 7-6. They lost 3 games by 2 points and 1 game by 3. So they're within, a few points of maybe winning 9 or 10 games last year. As you look at this team, yes, there are only 10 returning starters, and a couple of those guys may not start. There's so many newcomers on this team that it's really hard to tell for sure. Now, a lot of people think if you've got your quarterback returning, then automatically you're pretty good. And KJ Jefferson is really, really good. 2 of those losses last year came in games he didn't play. And Arkansas's backups were not as good. Now, they've got a transfer this year from North Carolina named Jacoby Criswell, who gives Arkansas a much better backup quarterback. But with KJ and Rocket Sanders as a running back, and really 4 really good running backs, including A.J. Green from Tulsa in the backfield, if the offensive line is as rebuilt as they think it is, because they only have 2 starters back, but if the offensive line is strong, this could be an offense that could be very, very, very good. Now, the difference in the last couple of years has been defense. So last year, Arkansas, out of 131 Division I schools, finished 131st in pass defense. Now, you can't be any worse than that. So when people say, well, you got to be better, well, yeah, if they're 130th, they'll be better. You don't want to do that. But the secondary's been rebuilt. There are 5 starters back there when you count what they call nickel back or hog back, whatever you want to call it. And of those 5 starters, 4 of them transferred in from other programs, 1 from Georgia, 2 from Baylor, 1 from LSU. So that makes them probably stronger automatically when you listen to those programs. Linebacking core, they lost 2 terrific linebackers, but they've got, again, the transfer portal was very beneficial for Arkansas there. Plus, they've got a guy named Prue Paul back, who was an excellent linebacker last year. The defensive front is where Arkansas should be really strong. They're at least 2 deep and maybe 3 deep for the first time since, if they're 3 deep, it's the first time I can remember in all the years that I've done Razorback football. They're strong. They should get a good pass rush. They've got a new defensive coordinator named Travis Williams, who came from Central Florida, new secondary coach who came from Florida State, where they were 4th in the country in pass defense last year. So if the defense is as improved as everybody thinks it's going to be, then this could be a team that could win anywhere from 8 to 10 games.
Well, Rick, we're looking forward to it. Going to Arkansas with some OU football teams in the future here. Nothing like the atmosphere the Hogs have there, and it was excited about that. And good to see these 2 rivals finally get together, maybe in some future SEC schedules, Rick.
They have hardly ever played in the regular season. There have been, of course, one of Arkansas's most famous games ever was beating Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, January 2nd of 1978. Since then, Oklahoma beat Arkansas twice in bowl games, once in the Orange Bowl, once in the Cotton Bowl. But these are teams that have not played in the regular season. You have to go way back, I guess, when I think Oklahoma was in the Southwest Conference when Arkansas joined. So that'll be kind of cool because they're really close. Now, they won't play in 2024. That schedule's already been released. But perhaps in 25 or 26, either Arkansas will be in Norman or Oklahoma fans get a chance to come to Arkansas.
Rick, always great to visit with you and catch up, my friend, and have a great season with the Hogs over there, and appreciate you taking some time on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
Thank you, Chris. Always great visiting with you. Glad to see you're still in the sports field. Absolutely wonderful to see you.
Thank you. We're going to come back, talk some high school football right after this.
There are 3 things you need to know about Bricktown Brewery. We never stop obsessing over the quality of our fresh, made-from-scratch food. From pizza and burgers to salad and seafood, there's something for everyone. Our beer selection is second to none. Between handcrafted Bricktown beers and local craft favorites, you're sure to find one you'll love. We can't wait to serve you. Great food, local beer, and truly friendly service. Bricktown Brewery, we love what we do, and it shows.
The Remington Park Thoroughbred season has plenty of winning action with many big stakes dates set for you on the calendar. The richest race of the season is on the only Sunday of the season, Oklahoma Derby Day, September 24th. The Grade 3 $400,000 Derby headlines a brilliant card that also features the Grade 3 $200,000 Remington Park Oaks. The Derby Day program begins at 3 p.m. and features the annual wine tasting festival along with a hat and tie style contest. Remington Park's Oklahoma Derby Day, Sunday, September 24th, 3 p.m.
Tulsa Oilers hockey at the BOK Center. The ultimate experience of hockey and entertainment. Save big on season tickets today. Full season tickets starting as low as $17 per month for all 36 home games. Get your season tickets at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. Experience hard-hitting, glove-dropping, pulse-pounding, glass-rattling kind of thrill. Season tickets available now at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey.
Hi, I'm Dr. Caleb Nelly with Tulsa Bone and Joint in Owasso.
And I'm Dr. Ian Goodman with Tulsa Bone and Joint in Owasso, and we are your team physicians for the Owasso Rams.
I'm Zach McGinty.
I'm Kate Grady.
I'm Destry Millsap.
And we are the athletic trainers for the Owasso Rams.
Here's some of the services that we provide in the Tulsa Bone and Joint Athletic Training Facility.
Well, the 2023 Oklahoma high school football season kicked off last week, that 0 week. I'm still trying to figure that out. Michael Knight, our insider here, and of course the prep Redzone.com in Oklahoma has all the inside information. And what was some of your takeaway of that 0 week action? And we had some surprises.
Yeah, one thing that wasn't a surprise was Bixby, right? I mean, they picked up right where they left off from last year. They were dominant against Owasso in the 2 times they met them last season. They were dominant again in week 0. I said it on last week's show. I don't know how anybody slows down Bixby. They're a machine at this point, and we saw it firsthand on Thursday night. But when you look at week 0, I think that without a doubt the top story to come out of at least the action on the field was Edmond Santa Fe. After going 1-9 last season. They were 0-9 going into the final week of the regular season. They beat UConn. So now they're on a winning streak. They've won 2 in a row after losing the 9 previous games. They come to Jinx. They beat the Trojans on the last second field goal. They block it. And Jinx falling to 0-1. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming, but I knew Santa Fe was going to be improved. They weren't going to go 1-9 again, but I didn't necessarily think they were going to come to Jinx America, where not a lot of people win, and beat the Trojans.
It was not a good opening week for the Blankenship family. Wow.
No, I mean, between Owasso and then Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow's young. I knew coming into this season that the Tigers, it was going to be tough for them. Bentonville, Arkansas is a really good team, and Northwest Arkansas as well. So, I think that, Broken Arrow, they have their work cut out for them. And Owasso, it's a repeat of last year, where the first half of the season, the schedule is absolutely brutal. So I'm not going to judge the Rams too much until we get to October, November, because they're going to be right there in the mix again.
Well, it kind of surprised me, too, the beating that Holland Hall took, the beating Cassia Hall took. Wow.
Yeah, when you talk about the Tulsa private schools, Lincoln, they've been on top of Holland Hall for the last 2 years. And so I was really impressed with their defense, shutting out Holland Hall. I didn't see that coming necessarily, but I thought Lincoln was the better team. And then Cassia Hall, they're good, but they're young. And they're moving to a new system on offense where, for years and years and years, they were a run-first team. Now they're going to throw the ball about 35 to 40 times a game. That's what Joe Medina told me in the offseason. So they're still trying to make that transition. And Victory Christian, who beat them on Friday, they're a good football team. They're going to be a contender in Class 2A.
Well, they may be a little outdated, but let's get your rankings for the week. Oklahoma Prep Redzone does their rankings every week with the high schools, and the only shake-up, I guess, was 6A, right?
Yeah, when I looked at each class, there weren't many changes except for 6A1 because of Edmond Santa Fe beating Jinx. They jump into the top 5. Jinx and Owasso, they both fell a couple spots. Moore also jumped up after beating Edmond Memorial on the road as well. So, in terms of the shakeups in the rankings, there weren't very many except for 6A1. But now coming into week 1, a lot of teams are going to be playing. A lot of those top 10 teams are going to be playing each other. In fact, Class 3A and 2A, the top 3 teams in each class are playing each other, which is very bizarre. I don't know how it matched up, but you have Sulphur playing Washington, you have Jones playing Lincoln Christian, and you have Heritage Hall playing Millwood. So the top 3 teams in 3A are playing the top 3 teams in 2A. So we might see some shuffling going into week 2.
You want to know where the best games are? Just look for a Prep Redzone and Michael on the sideline here. That's where all the big high school games are. What's your focus this week, week 1?
So I love those 3A, 2A matchups. Like I said, I think that whenever you're talking about the top teams, state championship contenders, we get that on Thursday night with Heritage Hall taking on Millwood. Both teams made it to the state title game in their respective classes last year. Heritage Hall winning the 3A title, Millwood losing to Washington in the 2A title. I'm going to be there on Thursday night. Then on Friday night, I'll be in Jones, where the Longhorns will take on Lincoln Christian. Both teams expecting to contend for the state titles in their respective classes.
Okay, how do they find you at PrepRedzone.com?
Yeah, so it's real easy. Just check us out, PrepRedzone.com/Oklahoma. We're all over the country, but I know if you're watching this, you only care about Oklahoma high school football like myself.
Yes.
So you can check us out. Be sure when you subscribe, use coupon code NIGHT25. That'll save you 25% off your subscription. That's NIGHT, KNIGHT 25. That'll save you 25%. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter at PrepRedZoneOK. We'll be tweeting out score updates, top performers. We'll be talking about all the top players every single week throughout the high school football season.
Any individuals jump out at you first game performances?
I have to tip my cap to Shaker Rising, the Union quarterback.
Special.
I mean, that guy, I've said it before. Maybe I haven't said it publicly, but the guy is an assassin with the football in his hands. I've never seen someone so efficient, so even-keeled. I joked with Kirk Frederick that I would love for him to have just a heart monitor on during the game, because I don't think it wouldn't change from start to finish. It could be the Backyard Bowl, it could be a state championship, it could be the 6th overtime against Owasso, and it would be the exact same as week 0 against Westmore when he put up 300 plus yards, 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. I mean, he's incredibly efficient, and he had a great start to his junior season.
And of course, as a freshman, a true freshman, he was at Jinx, undefeated state champion. The sophomore he came to Union, 11-1. Didn't make the finals in that one, but he was a special talent.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that he's one of the best quarterbacks in Oklahoma. He showed it last week in their win over Westmore, and that's a Westmore team that has a really talented secondary. They got a kid that's committed to OU at the safety position. They have another kid that plays corner that's committed to Houston. So you have a couple Power 5 guys in that secondary, and it didn't matter for Shaker. He just absolutely sliced him up, and the thing that impresses me so much about him is his efficiency. I think he completed 70 to 80% of his passes, 5 touchdown passes to 5 different receivers. He's got this offense rolling, and it's only week 1.
Michael Knight, PrepRoadzone.com. We're proud to say also Oklahoma Sports Scene. We'll have a segment in each one of our shows this fall, wrapping up all the high school football, looking into the big games. I'm going to come back and get into thoroughbred racing, a Remington report, special profile of a jockey, and look back at the Traverse Stakes this past weekend.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Tulsa Oilers hockey at the BOK Center. The ultimate experience of hockey and entertainment. Save big on season tickets today. Full season tickets starting as low as $17 per month for all 36 home games. Get your season tickets at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. Experience hard-hitting, glove-dropping, pulse-pounding, glass-rattling kind of thrill. Season tickets available now at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
The Remington Park Casino is always open for jackpot gaming. The winning action never ends. Enjoy great food and drinks in the Bricktown Brewery, open daily at 11 a.m. Simulcast racing is offered every day, featuring North America's best tracks. Visit the Club Remington desk for player card membership and begin earning points and rewards. The jackpots are always flowing. The next one could be yours at Remington Park.
There are 3 things you need to know about Bricktown Brewery. We never stop obsessing over the quality of our fresh, made-from-scratch food. From pizza and burgers to salad and seafood, there's something for everyone. Our beer selection is second to none. Between handcrafted Bricktown beers and local craft favorites, you're sure to find one you'll love. We can't wait to serve you. Great food, local beer, and truly friendly service. Bricktown Brewery, we love what we do, and it shows.
We're back at the Bricktown Brewery here in Brookside, South Peoria, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Time now for Remington Race Report. I'm taking Oklahoma City. Dale Day has a profile of one of their leading jockeys.
The Remington Park Thoroughbred season is set to wrap up the hot dog days of August. However, jockey Floyd Wethy may not be ready to see the month end. He had a great opening, scoring a big stakes race and firmly planting himself atop the jockey standings.
Quarter mile to go in the Governor's Cup. Warren to the outside. Hold the loop to the inside. They have sprinted clear. Race on, top of the stretch. It's Warrant battling with holding the loop, trying to get by, and holding the loop is resilient at the rail. Here comes Paluxy with a big surge. Less than a furlong to go. Paluxy with all the momentum. Warrant looking for the lead, but Paluxy snatches it away.
Wethy brought Paluxy home at the long shot price of 24-1 odds for happy owners Blue and Gold Racing of Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Despite being ignored by the horse players, Wethy knew he had a horse with a chance the way Paluxy trained up to the Governor's Cup.
You know, his confidence was just really up. I mean, that work before the Cup, man, he really drug you around there and just worked so good. And come back off the racetrack bouncing and just feeling great. And our confidence was really high on him. Like he was really feeling himself.
Paluxy was the biggest win for the start of the Remington season for Wethy, but he piled up a riding triple the next night with Dancin' in the Country. Then Star of the North, followed by winning the final on August 19th for trainer Carl Broberg. It's Whitaker sweeping on by and going to the front. Whitaker now on top by 2 and change. Here comes Cosmo making a bid inside the final furlong. Well back to Aloe Henry and Holy Emperor. Whitaker showing the way in the final strides. Cosmo trying to keep up but not cutting into the margin. It will be Whitaker. Wethy is in the mix at the top of the rider standings but knows it will take a lot to stay there.
Things just got to keep, going our way. Our horses, of course, got to keep running good. We've been getting on a lot of horses in the morning, so we got to start. We got a lot of stuff coming our way. Races just got to unfold properly.
Remington Park Racing continues Thursday through Saturday, August 31st, then September 1 and 2. After Labor Day, we stretch the schedule out to Wednesday through Saturday. First race nightly is 7:07 p.m. Central Time. In Oklahoma City at Remington Park, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sportscene.
And live thoroughbred racing at Remington Park, Wednesday through Saturday, post time 7:07 p.m. Always free admission, free parking, and a bonus, Bricktown Brewery has a restaurant there at the racetrack. Well, it was billed nationally as the race of the year in thoroughbred racing, the historic Traverse Stake at Saratoga this past Saturday. It featured the 3 winners of the 3 Triple Crown races this year, plus the reigning 2-year-old champion, Forte. Quite a race, and at the end, though, it was the Belmont Stakes winner pulling the upset. Arcangelo going to win off by 3 lengths in the race. Very impressive performance and made history as well in the race, as the trainer of Arcangelo was Jenna Antonici. She's just the 2nd female trainer ever to win the Traverse Stakes. The last one, by the way, and the first one was 85 years ago. Also, jockey Javier Castellano won his 7th Traverse Stakes. Quite a year. He won the Kentucky Derby, then won the Belmont, and now the Traverse Stakes. We're going to come right back to talk with our Tulsa Bone and Joint surgeon on hips, a hip specialist, straight ahead.
The Remington Park Thoroughbred season has plenty of winning action with many big stakes dates set for you on the calendar. The richest race of the season is on the only Sunday of the season, Oklahoma Derby Day, September 24th. The Grade 3 $400,000 Derby headlines a brilliant card that also features the Grade 3 $200,000 Remington Park Oaks. The Derby Day program begins at 3 p.m. and features the annual wine tasting festival along with a hat and tie style contest. Remington Park's Oklahoma Derby Day, Sunday, September 24th, 3 p.m.
Tulsa Oilers hockey at the BOK Center. The ultimate experience of hockey and entertainment. Save big on season tickets today. Full season tickets starting as low as $17 per month for all 36 home games. Get your season tickets at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. Experience hard-hitting, glove-dropping, pulse-pounding, glass-rattling kind of thrill. Season tickets available now at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey.
There are 3 things you need to know about Bricktown Brewery. We never stop obsessing over the quality of our fresh, made-from-scratch food. From pizza and burgers to salad and seafood, there's something for everyone. Our beer selection is second to none. Between handcrafted Bricktown beers and local craft favorites, you're sure to find one you'll love. We can't wait to serve you. Great food, local beer, and truly friendly service. Bricktown Brewery, we love what we do, and it shows.
My name is Dr. Brittany Els. Here at Tulsa Bone and Joint Urgent Care, we treat a lot of athletes for wrist injuries, anything from sprains and fractures, elbow and shoulder injuries. Right here on site, we have the ability to do x-rays for your student athlete. We also have the ability to put them in a wrist brace or a knee brace if needed. And we have the ability to refer them to an orthopedic surgeon for follow-up care. We're an orthopedic urgent care and we have a walk-in availability. You don't need an appointment. One of the things that makes our urgent care unique is that it is physician run. We appreciate being able to care for your student athletes.
Every month, Tulsa Bone and Joint provides us with one of their outstanding surgeons. Talk about certain parts of the anatomy and what they do with it and how they cure it and how they rehab it. Very happy to join there. An old friend of ours was on the show with us last year, right, John?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
John Balbas is here, the specialist on hips. He brought a little hip with him to show us. Why don't you break it down first? Give us an idea about the hip here.
You bet, certainly. So I'm going to be talking mostly about non-arthritic hip issues.
Okay.
So this is, if it's a replacement, that's a whole different thing at this point. So mostly we're talking about, the main thing that you hear about, especially with athletes having injuries, are labral tears.
Right.
So labrum is the tissue that goes around the edge of the socket. So I brought this model here, which this is what we do during the time of surgery, and this is mostly done arthroscopically. But what happens is that the ball part of the hip will hit against the edge of the socket here, and this tissue here where the labrum lives. I don't know if you can see that pretty well there. And as the hip comes up, it'll cause tearing of that. And I don't know if you remember, Alex Rodriguez had this issue.
Right, yeah.
There's been Isaiah Thomas, not the Hall of Famer, the younger one.
Right, okay.
He had it. There's lots of golfers that get it. So what happens is it turns out this is what people used to think of as the lingering groin injury.
Right.
Well, a lot of times it's not. It's a hip joint issue because that's where hip joint pain refers to, is that front part, the groin region.
Right.
So that's a common thing that we treat with all kinds of athletes, from the teenage dancer females, which is a very common patient of mine, to non-athletic injuries as well, up to 40s and 50s and 60s sometimes.
So it's not my senior. I always tell you, don't do that. You're going to shatter your hip.
Right. It's not that. It's
Okay,
not.
okay.
Yeah. It's not that issue. A lot of the time, it can be from an anatomical problem, whether they have a deep socket or they have the bony bumps on the ball part here, which loses their contour. So as the hip comes up, it doesn't offset the forces very well.
Right.
So then you get this tearing, wear and tear effect. And usually patients don't complain of incredibly sharp pain. It just kind of lingers and it builds and it doesn't get better.
Yeah. When do they need to come? When do they need to come see you?
Usually when it affects your daily living, when it keeps you up at night.
Yeah.
That's the time to really be seen for this.
Arthroscopically. Let's talk
Right.
about the procedure, how long
Sure.
it takes, and about the rehab.
Right. So usually it's about 3 to 5 small incisions. We'll go in, and then first thing I do is I'll cut the capsule just like I'm showing here.
Right.
Then I'll get a good look at the labrum, which is this tissue here, and then usually repair that with some suture anchors.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll contour the edge of the bone as well too, and then contour the bony ball if it needs it. Not everybody needs it.
Yeah, right.
Surgery takes about a couple hours, and usually you're on crutches for about 3 to 6 weeks, depending on how much I have to do. And then we rehab for several months.
Is it outpatient surgery?
It is outpatient,
God,
yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
amazing to me.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's a weight-bearing joint.
Correct.
So that's the long rehab then?
Right. It takes a little longer just because of that, but it's not, comparing to other parts, it doesn't hurt quite as bad.
Right.
And that's sometimes part of the problem too, is that when patients come to me, sometimes they've let this go quite a long time because the hip's not too painful.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a preventative way to maybe avoid this? What should you be doing exercise-wise or stretching, things like that?
Great question. Avoid the extremely deep hip flexion positions, loaded. So like the old school squats they used to make us do in high school. Oh, I hated those. But going on all the way down, don't go all the way far down. Yeah. Try to avoid going that much deep flexion. So what I'm talking about is bringing your thigh as far up as you can, especially loaded.
I'm just trying to get up out of my chair.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Dr. Balbas, thank you so much.
You bet, my pleasure.
Great job. Tulsa Bone and Joint. I'll take good care of you there. Hey, look ahead to next week's show. You won't want to miss it. We've got a lot of good guests coming up for you. Of course, we're going to look deeper into that unfortunate 2 shooting incidents in high school football. We'll have with us David Jackson from the OSSAA and our own Mick Wilson from the Tulsa Public School Athletic Director will be joining us as well. Michael and I will have another high school recap. Of course, also the first big weekend of college football. All that to talk about as well. So be sure to join us next week. Oklahoma Sportscene will be taping out at the 71st location of Bricktown Brewery, just east of Woodland Hills Mall. Come join us between 5 and 6:30. Get some great beverages, great food, great hospitality, great events at Bricktown Brewery. See you next week.